Today we're making our own homemade barbecue glaze, our own rub to make this beautiful barbecue glazed chicken, and we're doing it all on the Weber kettle. I'm Johnny, you're watching A View to a Grill. The first thing we need to do is make our own homemade barbecue glaze. For my glaze, I'm going to start off with a barbecue sauce base, and that is going to be this Kraft's Original. We'll also need a lemon, a shallot, 2 cloves of garlic, brown sugar, some Mike's Hot Honey, red pepper flakes, your favorite beer, and some fresh thyme. Now this part isn't hard at all. All you have to do is gather all of these ingredients, put them into a pot. The only thing I want to be sure of is that we're only putting in half the beer. And if you don't like to use your cast iron for this sort of thing, then do this on the stove top with your stainless steel pot. It doesn't matter. Now the last thing we want to do is put the thyme, just rest it right on top. And all we really have to do is let this reduce. Now it will bubble up on you at times and maybe make a little mess like I did, but when I was done, this was the consistency of my sauce. And this sauce tends to be a little thinner when it's hot. Once it gets to room temperature, it does thicken up a little bit. Now I like to use a glass bottle for my sauce simply because when I'm putting it in the bottle, typically it is still hot, and I have melted plastic bottles before. If you're going to use a plastic bottle, let it cool off first, and also use a strainer so that the thyme leaves won't clog up the head of the squeeze bottle. Now one thing you may have noticed is we did not add any salt to this. The barbecue sauce base that we use is plenty salty. Now that our barbecue sauce glaze has been made, let's go ahead and make our rub. To start off with, we're going to need an all-purpose rub. Here is the recipe to mine. We're going to need 3 tablespoons of all-purpose rub, 1 tablespoon of lemon pepper, 1 teaspoon of ground mustard seed, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of tarragon, and 1 teaspoon of Mexican oregano. Now all we have to do is get all of those ingredients into a shaker bottle. Once you have them all in there, go ahead, shake that bottle up, and when you're done, you should have a rub that looks like this. Now that our rub is made, let's go ahead and prepare the Weber kettle. Now I like to reuse my unburnt charcoal, so I do that first by shaking out the ash and smaller pieces of charcoal from my slow and sear. Next, I want to make sure we have good airflow. So I'm just going to clean up all of that ash and loose charcoal at the bottom with my one-touch vents. And then I'll wipe up that loose ash on the sides of my Weber kettle. Next, I can get the grates back down and then use my CitraSafe to clean the grill grates. Now we'll just put everything back together. Slow and sear goes in. Now we can put our grates in, open up the grate door so that it can receive lit charcoal. Now that our Weber kettle is ready, let's go ahead and start our fire. We'll light up our fire cup. I'm only using a full small Weber chimney starter. Once I see some ash developing on the top coals in the chimney starter, I know it's time to get that lit charcoal and pour it right into the slow and sear. I'll then spread out the charcoal for even heat distribution. Now we can close the lid and let our Weber preheat. Now today we want a hot grill, so we're going to make sure that the top vent is wide open and that the bottom vent is wide open as well. While our Weber kettle is preheating, let's go ahead and prepare our chicken. Now as you can see here, I've already cut up my chicken, and I decided to leave the legs as quarters. Before I season the chicken, I'm going to spray it with a little bit of olive oil. That's going to do 2 things. It's going to allow the chicken rub to stick, and it's going to help promote bite-through skin. Once we've sprayed our chicken, we can then season it. And try not to over season the chicken. When you're putting on your rub, you should still be able to see the chicken through the rub. get everything turned over, spray the underside of the chicken. That's going to help give you those crispy little bits on the underside. It'll also help the chicken rub to stick. And you're going to want to use the same rules. That took about 5 minutes. Now it's time to get the chicken onto the Weber kettle. Now, in case you're wondering, here's what our fire looks like. You can see that the embers are glowing from end to end. Now, since we seasoned our chicken on this pan and baker's grid, all we have to do is lift up the entire baker's grid and set that on the indirect side of the grill. Now, when I put this chicken on, notice that it is skin side down. We don't have to handle the chicken, and in my opinion, it's a lot faster and easier. 30 minutes later, let's go ahead and check on our chicken. So it's looking okay. We've got a little bit of color development. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and flip the chicken. Once I've flipped the chicken, I'll then touch up any seasoning that I may have knocked off with my tongs. Now we're going to start crisping up that skin side of the chicken. Now we can close the lid and give this about 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes later, let's go ahead, check on the chicken again, and this time I'm going to get an internal temperature reading. Also at this point, since the breast is the easiest piece of chicken to dry out, I'm going to pay most of my attention to that. And if we look, we can see that the chicken breast is 128 degrees. So we're getting close. I'm going to go ahead, close the lid, and give this another 15 minutes. Now 15 minutes later, we get the lid open and you can see that we are developing some nice brown color on our chicken skin. We'll give it another internal temperature check and we've gone up all the way to 140 degrees. That's a good time to start browning our chicken and giving it some nice char flavor. I'll just spray the grates with a little bit of that olive oil to help prevent sticking. And we can get our chicken on, and now it's up to you on how much char you want on your chicken. The one thing you have to realize is that it does not take long for this char to happen. This video clip in real time is 44 seconds. You also have to realize that the longer you keep that lid open, the hotter your grill is going to get. And then here's what 44 seconds on a hot grill looks like. So I'll give both of these a quarter turn, and this time I'm going to give it a little shorter period, 24 seconds. So just to get them off the heat, I'm going to turn them over and put them on the cooler side of direct heat, because you can see how high those flames are on the right. What I'm doing here is seeing if the other side is hot enough to crisp up the chicken skin. So we're going to let those go for about 20 seconds, and then looking at the chicken skin, it's not hot enough. So we're going to take our chances on the hot side of the slow and sear. Skin side down on direct flames, it will burn on you if you're not careful. This is 7 seconds in real time. So the first one took 7 seconds and I moved that to the back. However, the second one, I feel like I can get a little bit more color on it. So we're going to drop it on that flame again. And I'm actually leaving this one in real time, and it took another 7 seconds. So we're going to go with this and put it onto the back of the grill. We'll do another quick temperature check, and I'm going to let this sit on the indirect side for another 5 minutes. And then 5 minutes later, here's what we got. This is what the meat side looks like, and then this is what the skin side looks like. I'm going to go ahead and remove these from the grill. And now for the dark meat, I'm going to do the same process that I did for the 2 chicken breasts. And this whole process only took me 1 minute and 10 seconds. That last wing looks a little crispy, but it will be okay, trust me. We'll get the lid closed and let these go for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, it's time to start glazing our chicken. Here's our homemade chicken glaze. Now, in case you didn't know, I have an Instagram page. Go ahead, hit up Instagram, follow me at View2A-Grill, one word, and I'd appreciate that a lot. Now let's get a quick internal temperature check of the thighs, and we're right about 167 degrees. To glaze your thighs, all you're going to do is squeeze a little bit of this chicken barbecue glaze right on top. Close the lid, wait for 5 minutes, and do it all over again. Now at this point, I feel like it's important to show you how hot this grill is. Yeah, it's tacked out. It is screaming right now. 5 minutes later, we're going to glaze our chicken again. And we did this a total of 3 times. Now, in case you were wondering what that chicken breast looked like, I have that cut up, and check this out. This chicken breast is juicy. You can see the flesh is glistening with moisture, and yeah, it tasted fantastic. Now, it's been 5 minutes since our third glazing, and this chicken is ready to come off of the grill. But of course, before I take it off, take a look at this chicken. Shiny and beautiful. Now, since I used a rack, I can take all of my chicken off at one time, place it on my pan. Now that our chicken is done, let's check out the results. Now, let's go ahead and take a bite of our barbecue glazed chicken. Now, here's that wing that I thought maybe I kind of burned a little bit, but it's fine. It has a little extra char on it, but still 100% delicious. Pulls right off the bone when we take a bite. It's almost homemade, it's sweet, it's tangy, it's delicious, and there's a lot of steps in this process, but the end result is quite incredible. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, why not? You should subscribe to my channel right now. Thank you for watching A View to a Grill. I'll see you guys next time. Take care, y'all.